The Decree of Exile. Ambassador Elena Chen stood alone in the vast chamber of the Galactic Council, her black formal suit a stark contrast against the iridescent walls that seemed to shift colors with the light of the three moons visible through the transparent dome above. Around her, in a perfect circle, sat the representatives of 27 spacefaring civilizations, some resembling humans in basic form, others so alien that Elena had needed special training just to communicate with them without experiencing vertigo. All of them were watching her now. All of them had just voted. The council has reached its consensus, announced High Speaker Zelvorn, a tall being with luminescent skin that pulsed with each word. Humanity's progression is deemed irregular and potentially destabilizing to galactic harmony. Elena kept her face impassive, though her heart hammered against her ribs. 6 months of diplomatic negotiations, presentations of human achievements, and promises of cooperation had led to this moment. Effective immediately, Zelvorn continued, his voice translated into perfect English by the small device behind Elena's ear. All human vessels and citizens are restricted to their native solar system. No human craft may venture beyond the orbit of your fourth planet. Enforcement platforms will be installed to ensure compliance. Elena stepped forward, her voice steadied despite her rising anger. This decision lacks precedent and justification. Humanity has adhered to every regulation since first contact 15 years ago. We've shared our innovations freely and participated in fair trade. From the lower tier, a counselor resembling a massive cephalopod rippled its tentacles in agitation. Your species adapts technologies in unpredictable ways. You modify our designs without understanding the cultural implications. You ask questions that have not been asked in millennia. That's called innovation, Elena countered. It's how we've survived on our planet. And that, interjected another counselor. This one, a crystalline entity suspended in a gravitational field, is precisely our concern. Your species views established wisdom as a challenge to overcome rather than a path to follow. You would disrupt balances that have maintained peace for 50,000 years. Elena scanned the chamber, searching for any sign of support among the alien faces. She found none. Even the Taurisi representative, who had seemed sympathetic during private discussions, now avoided her gaze. This decision is final, Zelvorn declared. You have one standard cycle to recall all human vessels and personnel to your system. After that, any human presence detected beyond the designated boundary will trigger defensive measures. 3 days later, Elena stood before the United Earth Government's emergency session in Geneva. The chamber erupted into outrage when she delivered the council's decision. They can't confine us to our own backyard, shouted the African Union representative. What about our mining operations in the Kuiper Belt? Demanded another. Secretary General Matteo Rivera raised his hand for silence. When the room quieted, he turned to Elena. Is there any chance of appeal? Elena shook her head. None. They've already begun deploying their Sentinel platforms. Rivera nodded slowly, then walked to the large window overlooking Lake Geneva. For a moment, he simply gazed at the blue waters reflecting the sunlight. For all of human history, he said finally, we have looked up at the stars and dreamed. For just 15 years, we've been reaching for those stars. He turned to face the assembly. The council believes they have ended our journey, but they have only challenged us to find a different path. His words were broadcast to every corner of Earth and to every human outpost in the solar system. As Elena watched the determined faces around her, she realized something important. The council had not crushed humanity's spirit. They had awakened it. The restriction had begun, but so had humanity's response. 5 years passed after the council's judgment. On the surface, Earth appeared to accept its fate. The official reports sent to council observers showed humans focusing inward, developing their own planets and nearby asteroids, seemingly content within their cosmic prison. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, Dr. Marcus Wong wiped sweat from his brow as he studied the strange device on his laboratory bench. The facility was buried 3 kilometers below the surface, effectively shielded from the Council's monitoring systems. Here, he led Project Icarus, humanity's most ambitious secret. "Try again," he told his team. "Increase power by 7%. The device, reverse-engineered from alien technology, acquired before the restriction, hummed to life, emanating a soft blue glow. It was a prototype FTL communication system, but Marcus and his team had modified it in ways its original creators had never intended. "Energy signature is stable," called out his assistant, Dr. Aisha Okafor. "No detectable emissions outside our shielding." Marcus allowed himself a smile. This was the breakthrough they had sought for years. The Council's technology utilized predictable harmonic frequencies for faster-than-light communication, but Marcus's team had discovered a completely different spectrum that the aliens had never explored. "Begin the test transmission," he ordered. Meanwhile, at a seemingly ordinary mining outpost on Ceres, Commander Sarah Nakamura piloted her small maintenance craft along the dwarf planet's dark side. Officially, she was inspecting the structural integrity of mining shaft 37. In reality, her craft was mapping the patrol patterns of the Council's Sentinel platforms orbiting beyond Mars. "There it is again," said her co-pilot, Lieutenant Carlos Vega, watching the specialized sensors they had developed. "Every 68 minutes, that section of the network has a 4.3-second gap in its scanning pattern." Sarah nodded and marked it in their encrypted database. "That's the 7th weakness we've identified. Not much, but it might be enough." For years, her team had been testing the limits of the restriction, never crossing the boundary, never giving the Council reason for further punishment, but learning, always learning. In the asteroid belt, what appeared to be a standard mining operation on a metallic asteroid designated KB-129 was actually the construction site for humanity's first completely independent starship. Built using only technology developed on Earth or reverse-engineered without Council knowledge, the vessel took shape in secrecy. Chief Engineer Takashi Yamamoto supervised as massive robotic arms assembled hull sections in the asteroid's shadow. "The stealth coating is complete," he reported to his tablet. "Initial tests show it absorbs 99.7% of scanning frequencies used by Council Sentinels." The ship, codenamed Phoenix, represented humanity's defiance. It incorporated no recognizable Council technology signatures. Its propulsion system utilized principles discovered in the decades since restriction, principles the aliens had never explored because they contradicted their established physics. On Earth, universities and research facilities had shifted focus. Unable to access the Council's vast knowledge archives, humanity had turned inward, rediscovering the innovation that had characterized their species before first contact. New theories of physics emerge, ones that the Council had dismissed millennia ago as unproductive avenues. In a nondescript office in Buenos Aires, General Maya Hassan reviewed the latest updates from these various projects on a quantum-encrypted network. As the military commander coordinating humanity's covert response to the restriction, she alone saw the complete picture. "The Phoenix is at 86% completion," she noted to her small staff. "Wang's communication system is operational. Nakamura has identified 7 exploitable weaknesses in the Sentinel network." Her deputy, Colonel David Chen, studied the timeline projection. "We're still 6 months from the first test flight beyond the restriction boundary." "Make it 4, Hassan ordered. "Intelligence suggests the Council is planning to upgrade their Sentinel network next year. We need to move before that happens." The meeting was interrupted by an urgent message. Hassan opened it and her eyes widened. "Wang's team just received a signal," she announced. "It's faint but unmistakable. And it's coming from beyond the Oort cloud." The room fell silent. "Origin?" Chen asked finally. "Unknown," Hassan replied. "But it's definitely not Council technology." She looked up at her team, a slow smile spreading across her face. "It seems we're not the only ones who disagree with the Council's methods." That night, Secretary General Rivera stood on the balcony of his Geneva residence, gazing up at the stars. His secure phone buzzed with Hassan's message. Phoenix accelerated to launch in 4 months. Received signal from unknown non-council source beyond our system. Rivera took a deep breath of the cool night air. The council had intended to contain humanity, to slow what they saw as dangerous unpredictability. Instead, they had created exactly the conditions that would bring out humanity's greatest strength. The ability to overcome seemingly impossible obstacles. The stars no longer seemed so distant. The rising phoenix. Commander Eliza Morgan felt sweat bead on her forehead as the Phoenix approached the boundary markers. Beyond the orbit of Mars, the Council's Sentinel platforms silently patrolled, their sensors sweeping the void for any human transgression. Stealth systems at maximum, reported her pilot, Lieutenant James Kumar. All emissions dampened. Begin approach vector, Eliza ordered. Time to the surveillance gap. 2 minutes, 17 seconds. The Phoenix was humanity's masterpiece, a sleek vessel constructed entirely from technologies developed or reverse-engineered without council knowledge. Its hull absorbed scanning frequencies rather than reflecting them, and its propulsion system utilized principles the aliens had dismissed millennia ago. Sentinel network coming into visual range, announced the sensor officer. On the main screen, the alien platforms appeared as distant silver points against the blackness of space. Eliza keyed her comm. Mission Control, we are approaching the boundary. General Hassan's voice came through, slightly distorted by the encrypted channel. Proceed according to plan, Phoenix. You are cleared for Operation Breakout. The ship approached the invisible line that had caged humanity for 7 years. Beyond it lay the stars. And freedom. Gap in surveillance pattern in 3, 2, 1. Execute, Eliza commanded. The Phoenix surged forward, its revolutionary engines pushing it through the momentary blind spot in the Council's network. For 4.3 seconds, they were exposed, visible to anyone watching closely enough. Boundary crossed, Kumar reported, his voice tight with tension. No alarm signals detected. The crew held their breath for long seconds, waiting for the pursuit that didn't come. Then, as they moved farther from the Sentinel network, Eliza allowed herself a small smile. Set course for the coordinates of the unknown signal, she ordered. Maximum speed. Humanity had just taken its first step back to the stars. 3 months later, the Phoenix approached an unremarkable yellow star 80 light-years from Earth. The mysterious signal had led them here, to a system not listed in any council database shared with humans before the restriction. Scanning third planet, reported Science Officer Dr. Lai Wei. Atmosphere nitrogen-oxygen mix, gravity 1.1 Earth standard, moderate water coverage. Life signs, Eliza asked. Plant analogs, definitely. Some small animal-like organisms, nothing advanced. And the signal? Lee pointed to a large continent in the planet's northern hemisphere. Coming from there. It's artificial, but not matching any known council technology signatures. The Phoenix entered orbit cautiously. Every crew member knew they were making history. The first humans to set foot on an exoplanet since the restriction began. The landing team, led by Eliza herself, touched down in a valley surrounded by purple-leafed vegetation. The air smelled of cinnamon and ozone. Perimeter secure, reported Security Chief Takio Sato. No movement detected. They followed the signal to what appeared to be a crash site, a small vessel, clearly artificial, but unlike anything in the Council's design philosophy. Its hull was patterned with intricate geometrical shapes that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. It's old, Lai said, examining the wreckage. Perhaps thousands of years. Inside the craft, they found a storage unit, still functioning after untold centuries. It contained data crystals and what appeared to be technical schematics. This isn't council technology, Lai whispered, awe in her voice. It's something completely different, perhaps from before the council's ascendancy. As they explored further, they discovered the planet had abundant resources, metals rare on Earth, energy sources the Council had never mentioned, and fertile soil that their preliminary tests showed would support Earth crops. That night, as the team camped near the crash site, Eliza sent an encrypted message back to Earth: planet suitable for colonization. Discovered pre-Council technology cache. Recommend immediate establishment of Outpost 1. What do you think happened to them? Asked Kumar as they stared up at unfamiliar stars. The ones who built that ship. I don't know, Eliza replied, but I suspect the Council might. Within a year, humanity had established its first extrasolar colony, codenamed New Horizon. The settlement grew rapidly as more stealth ships secretly transported colonists through gaps in the Sentinel network. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Wang's team deciphered the alien data crystals. What they found astonished them. They called themselves the Precursors, Wang explained to the United Earth government's secure session. According to these records, they were a spacefaring civilization that existed before the current Council formed. Their technological approach explored avenues the Council later declared forbidden. What happened to them? Secretary General Rivera asked. The records suggest they were contained, just as we were. Wang's expression was grim. The Council has apparently been doing this for a very long time. Are there others? General Hassan asked. Other species who've been restricted? Almost certainly. The Precursors mentioned several contemporaneous civilizations that disagreed with the Council's methodologies. This discovery sparked a new initiative. Using the advanced communication technology derived from the Precursor data, humanity began searching for other restricted species, others who might share their desire for freedom from Council oversight. They found them. The Calrathi, insectoid beings restricted to their system for creating artificial intelligence the Council deemed dangerous. The Norvan, an aquatic species banished for genetic engineering. The Talon, who had attempted to settle worlds the Council considered protected. Each had been isolated, told they were the only ones who had violated Council protocols, and left to stagnate within their systems. Dr. Aisha Okafor, now leading diplomatic efforts with these species, addressed the United Earth government 2 years after the discovery of New Horizon. The Council's primary method of control is isolation, she explained. They convince each species that they alone have transgressed, that the rest of the galaxy functions in perfect harmony without them. But that's a lie. Over the next 3 years, a shadow alliance formed. Human stealth ships made contact with the other restricted species, sharing technology and resources. Together, they established a network of colonies beyond Council space, worlds the galactic power had never bothered to claim or explore. On New Horizon, the reverse engineering of precursor technology led to breakthroughs that surpassed even pre-restriction projections. Their propulsion systems became faster, their communications more secure, their manufacturing more efficient. 10 years after the restriction, humanity possessed a fleet of ships that could evade Council detection. They had established 7 colonies, all connected through a network the Council couldn't detect. And they had allies, other species who shared their desire for self-determination. It was time. Elena Chen, now 62 years old but still commanding respect as Earth's former ambassador, stood once again in the chamber of the Galactic Council. This time, however, she was not alone. Beside her stood representatives of the Calrathi, the Norvan, and the Talon. Behind them, visible through the chamber's transparent dome, a fleet of ships hung in space, vessels of human design, built with precursor principles, crewed by all 4 species. What is the meaning of this? Demanded High Speaker Zelvorn. How have you bypassed our sentinels? Elena smiled slightly. We found another way, as humans always do. She activated a holographic display showing the Alliance's colonies, their fleet, their combined technological achievements. For 10 years, you believed us contained. In those 10 years, we have built an interstellar civilization outside your borders. We have rediscovered principles your Council abandoned millennia ago. We have formed alliances with others you sought to isolate. The council chamber erupted in confused shouting. Zelvorn raised all four of his arms for silence. "You have violated our decree," he said finally. "This is unprecedented." "No," Alina corrected him. "According to the precursor records, it's happened many times. You've just erased those incidents from your history." She stepped forward, her voice carrying throughout the chamber. "We come not to wage war, but to declare our independence. The Phoenix Alliance claims the unclaimed stars beyond your borders. We will trade with any who wish to trade. We will share knowledge with any who wish to learn. And we will defend our sovereignty against any who threaten it." "This is unacceptable," Zelvorn declared. "The Council has maintained galactic stability for 50,000 years." "Stability isn't the same as progress," Alina replied. "You've sacrificed the latter for the former. We choose a different path." As the Council representatives argued among themselves, Alina's communicator vibrated with a message from General Hassan, now commanding the Alliance fleet outside. "Multiple Council warships approaching. Orders." Alina looked up at the agitated Council, then back at her fellow ambassadors from the other restricted species. They all nodded slightly. "We are leaving now," she announced to the Council. "Any attempt to attack our fleet will be met with defensive measures. Any future incursion into Phoenix Alliance space will be considered an act of war." As they turned to leave, the crystalline counselor, who had once condemned humanity's unpredictability, asked, How did you accomplish all this while restricted?" Alina paused at the chamber door and looked back. "You thought banishment would break us," she said simply. "Instead, we built an empire. That is what humans do when faced with the impossible. We find a way. Always."